Hey everybody, it's Kneecap here, and in this video I have a little bit of a news roundup style video. I usually do these when I have some things I want to talk about, but maybe not enough to make a whole video on, or not worth doing like a 2-minute video on. And so I'm going to talk about three things here. One's going to be the Rep Paladin Necrolord stuff that I kind of mentioned in the Curian video that I might be doing some testing for. I'm also going to be talking about the weight on the double legendaries, them being rep gated, and things like that. I'm also going to talk about the 10.0 leaks, or what 10.0 could be a little bit, because that's been going around as well a lot here recently. So first of all, let's get the Rep Paladin stuff out of the way. It's going to be probably the shortest thing. I did do some testing with Necrolord Ret with the double legendaries and the tier set bonuses, and my numbers were so much lower than the Curian numbers that I actually just gave up the testing. I didn't do nearly as much. But I mean, either every single one of my tests in Curian was a huge high outlier, and then like the couple handfuls I did as Necrolords were all low outliers, or Necrolord's just not going to be competitive single target with Curian in the patch 9.2 with the double legendaries. Curian was just way better. That's my initial reaction. I'm definitely not going to waste 5+ hours testing it if the numbers are that different. Like, we're talking, like, literally like 1,000 DPS difference on, like, like a mid-range Curian is 1,000 more than, like, for my testing, was like 1,000 more than a high-range Necrolord. So it just wasn't worth doing, in my opinion. I hope I'm wrong. I would love to play a new Covenant in the patch. So if I'm wrong, that's great. I'm not usually wrong on this kind of stuff because, I do take it seriously. But I would love to be wrong here. But as of now, unless they've reworked something or something changes, or the Seraphim being broke was the reason, as of right now, I definitely don't think Necrolord is going to be viable for single target. Specifying single target here, can extended cleave, that could be a different story. Let's actually jump into the 10.0 leaks next. The main thing being going around is that it's going to be like the Dragon Isles. I actually think this is very possible, even if that's not the name of the expansion. I do believe that we'll probably be going to the Dragon Isles at some point, whether that's, the 10.3 patch or the 10.2, or it's the theme of the whole expansion. I think this is very likely. They've done all kinds of dragon stuff with the store. They typically do this. So, like, with Shadowlands, they did, like, Shadowlands type crap, or, like, Ardenweld, a lot of Ardenweld type stuff came out in the store before Shadowlands. And they just typically do this because they're working on the assets right now, and then they're like, hey, this would be a cool mount. We'll put it out in the store, make a bunch of money off of it. And then they did this like dragon bundle as well in the store where you could get like some of the old dragons as well. And it's definitely probably going to have dragons in it, right? That's the true part. Other than that, obviously everything's just kind of a guess. You should take these things with a huge grain of salt. They just happen every single time. They're pretty much fan fiction. But some of it's really good fan fiction. Some of the stuff is, guessed correctly. Some of it's pretty obvious. So a lot of the Shadowlands were, we get level switched down to 50 and level back to 60. Well, Ian Hezekostas actually said that on a dev Q&A already, that they were like highly thinking of doing that. So while, it's just a solid guess based on data that you had, honestly. So, that's not really being too insightful there. But, some of the stuff could be true. I doubt any of the, for every one leak that's true, you probably have 1,000 or 10,000 that are not true. So at that point, you pretty much just have to throw the whole data set away and not really worry about them too much. But they are kind of fun to read. Some of them are really good fan fiction. Some of them would actually be good stories and good systems and stuff like that. And so, it is what it is. It's fun. It's fun to talk about, fun to think about. But the main point I wanted to put out is Dragon Isles is highly likely to happen, and at the very least something in depth with dragons is highly likely to happen in 10.0, or in the expansion of 10.0, 10.1, 10.2, 10.3. Very likely that dragons will be involved in that based on the evidence that we have. Lastly, I'm going to be talking about the double legendaries being locked behind a rep grind for in 9.2 in Zereth Mortis. So this has caused a little bit of controversy because it's basically going to be 23 days of dutifully doing rep every day. to unlock the double legendary thing that you need. I think you have to have revered as of now. And there's been a lot of angst about this, and I think the angst generally comes from the player power being locked behind it, and not so much the rep grind being locked behind it. And there always has been some player power locked behind rep grinds to varying extents over the course of World of Warcraft. But I think players generally are just kind of tired of that, and I think it's okay to change that. And so I actually came up with a little bit of a possible solution for this, and it allows all players, even very casual players, to partake in the system in the system being double legendaries in this case, partake in it without having to feel like they have to play every single day, but you still have to play the game and take part in the game, because the reality is, if they give you everything on day one, a lot of the casual players will just unlock them, have them, do a couple things with them, and then never play. They never worry about it again. They do want you to have some sort of player retention, right? Every game wants that. Now you say the argument against that is, well, just make the game good, and then they'll retain them. The problem with MMORPGs, at least traditionally, and again, they can pivot off of this, is that part of the thing that you are playing for is the grind. So if you don't like the grind, then it's inherently hard to keep those players. So now you can pivot away from that, no doubt. So my kind of solution to this would be to have it decide the time gate that you want it to unlock. Do you want it unlocked after 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, et cetera, et cetera. And then use the Great Vault system to give you a currency that then unlocks it for you without having to have any kind of rep. Or also give the option of doing the rep as well. Multiple options here. And to do this, I would simply say this. If you defeat 3 normal raid bosses, if you complete, 3 keystones for the first one, or only 1? Ooh, that's rough. But let's just even say 1. Let's say you kill 3 normal raid bosses, you do 1 mythic keystone. Let's say it has to be a +3 instead of a +2. And you win the amount of arena that you need to win to unlock the first row or the first box in your vault for arena. If you do any one of those 3 things at the lowest levels, even LFR once LFR comes out, but we'll say normal for now because LFR doesn't come out with the patch for the rating. That does make rating a little bit harder because you have to kill 3 bosses. But normal, it should be doable even for a really casual player, and if not, they can probably do the Mythic Plus one. And so you do that content. You're saying, I'm doing this content, I'm doing the new content, and I get this currency. And then after I have however many of those, like I said, however many weeks you decide, let's say four tokens. So for 4 weeks, I participated in the game for 4 weeks, the end game, and I got 4 tokens, and I can turn these in. On the other side, you could grind the rep, and after 4 weeks of grinding the rep, you unlock it that way. You could also add other ways to unlock it for all I care. But I think having those different options that lets people, not feel like they're being forced to do something. And the force part feels like, because it's like, well, I want to play with the double legendaries. And normally I would not be on this side of the argument, except for I actually have real life friends that don't end up participating in some of the systems added, like even corruption. Corruption ended up being a really fun system, especially for a casual player. And I had friends not participate in it because they didn't want to have to. It just was so much work to grind out the cloak resistance, do all the visions, then collect all the gear, have the right gear, have all that. And people just don't end up participating in it. So if you want everyone to participate in these double legendaries, which are really fun, make it accessible to everyone in a variety of ways. And I think that'd be a really smart way to do it. Again, so endgame content. So my two thoughts are endgame content and then the rep grind. And you could add another one, maybe some other kind of achievement in Zereth Mortis or something like that, like exploration achievement, or they would have had to have thought of that ahead of time, I'm sure, and put stuff in the game to make that equal. But you could do it that way as well. You could also just do it like, well, once you finish the main story quest, it also is unlocked. So however long that takes, 2 months or whatever. You didn't grind any rep, you don't do any end game, but still at the end of the 2 months, you get your double legendaries unlocked. So those are my thoughts on it. I think that would be a really good way to help casual players. I think on this issue, it's pretty straightforward. The majority of the player base does not want needed player power, let's call it needed player power, locked behind chores, or so you would say. So I think that is the case. I think there are some of us like me who don't mind it, but I think the vast majority does not want that to happen. So I think it's time to get a little bit more creative in the solutions there. So that's it for this video. As always, I do ask you to please subscribe to the channel. It helps me out so much. And other than that, everybody, have a good one.